Persia is one of the most enigmatic countries on the planet. On the one hand, it is one of the oldest countries on the planet, at least 5,000 years old. But on the other hand, in 1935 Persia changed its name to Iran. And that is disappeared from the minds of most people. Today, almost no one associates Iran and Persia in their minds, but whether this is true from a historical point of view is something we will talk about in the next couple of minutes. Traditionally, Iran history is divided into two phases, pre-Muslim and Muslim. The first began millions of years ago when Homo erectus roamed the territory of the modern country. All we are left of them are pear-shaped axes, and evolution here has followed the same path as in the rest of Asia. Some 15 years ago, Neanderthals dominated Iran, and 36 years ago, they were replaced by Cro-Magnons. And then Persia is out of luck. The country is not particularly popular in the world, and therefore few people focus on its history. In vain, because a huge number of urban-type settlements of 6,000 years old have been found on the territory of Iran. The Jeroen culture, ziggurat, sialk and ceramic vessels from the 4th millennium BC make many scientists claim the existence of ancient civilization in the territory of Iran, which on par with the interfluves and China would make the country the unofficial holder of the title of the cradle of human civilization. But Iran is not particularly popular, so traditionally the first civilization on its territory is considered to be Elam. The state was located in the southwest of modern Iran, and we know about it mainly from Sumerian sources. However, Sumerian notes also dozens of other cities of the states in the territory. The same Susa seems to have been founded as early as the 4th millennium BC, which makes the city much older than some of generally accepted oldest settlements. Anyway, Elam has been a geopolitical player for some time. Sometime in the 26th century BC, the Elamites actually took over the Sumerians. In the 23rd century BC, they themselves were invaded by the Akkadians. With this, incidentally, one of the most important discoveries is related. The Akkadian king Naram-Suen, soon after the war with Elam, concluded a written treaty with the state. It notes Elam's retention of independence, but the need to coordinate all foreign policy with the Akkadian kings. This is the first international treaty in history, so we can say that Iran was the origins of geopolitics. However, it's worth specifying that it's not quite about the Iranians. Then in Elam lived people close in genetic parameters to the Sumerian and the inhabitants of the Mesopotamia. It is not known when the Iranian tribes came to Persia directly. It is believed that it happened somewhere between the 20th and 15th centuries BC, and that the Iranians came from modern Central Asia or from Caucasus. Elam continued to be an independent player. Despite the official destruction of the country in 539 BC, it's mentioned that a delegation of Elamites was present in Jerusalem at the beginning of our era. The history of the Iranians from this point onward is usually continued by the state of Media. It was formed in 60-70 BC and was inhabited mainly of Medians who called themselves Aryans, a word that doesn't need to be deciphered. The Medians, together with the Babylonians, had managed to conquer huge Assyrian power, a piece of Turkey and even the Armenian highlands. The only thing that interrupted the existence of such a powerful country was their kinship with another Iranian tribe, the Persians. They, the legends agree, huddled together into a state under King Ahmed, from whom they got their name. Cyrus II Great in the 6th century BC established a vast Persian empire from Egypt to India. The Medians were assimilated, for the same Cyrus was half Median, and no one noticed any particular difference between the Iranian tribes. Most brightly of all speaks that Greeks at war with Persians periodically in the sources continued on inertia to refer to them as Medians. As from Greeks about Persians, we basically have learned our history. The Greco-Persian wars are on our minds of the majority as something that destroyed the vast Achaemenid power. but the reality is a little more complicated than that. Yes, from 500 to 449 BC, the Greeks fought the Persians. Yes, the Greeks defended their independence, but for the great power of Achaemenid, a couple of Greek cities were a speck of dust. They still ruled over Turkey, all of Western Asia, chunks of Africa, and some Indian tribes. Moreover, in the subsequent conflict between Athens and Sparta, the Persians had it now and then with the Athenians and now with the Spartans. What Xerxes couldn't achieve militarily, his descendant Artaxerxes achieved. Persia began to rule Greek life de facto without introducing troops, having won a long conflict. At the same time, the Achaemenids conquered another part of Egypt, but soon the weak central government would destroy the huge state. The Persians were unable to rule over dozens of conquered nations, and when Alexander the Great entered the arena, they were ruthlessly defeated. This happened in 313 BC, but as we know, Alexander the Great Empire didn't last long. After his death, everything collapsed safely and Persia was taken over by the guys from Parthian Kingdom. It's also one of the Indo-Iranian tribes. It's logical that the king of Parthia, Mithridates I, proclaims himself the king of kings and successor to the Achaemenids. This state existed for 5 centuries, from the 3rd century BC to the 3rd century AD. At the height of its power, the Parthians could compete with the Achaemenid Empire in terms of territory, but not so much in terms of autonomy. The Roman Empire at 1st AD de facto regarded the Parthians as its vassals. The situation became a little better with the rise to power of the Sassanids, who renamed Parthia after themselves. These guys created a centralized state. Zoroastrianism became the official religion. Feudal power was weakened in Rome, and subsequently Byzantium managed to deal a sensitive blow. The struggle was mainly over Mesopotamia and Armenia, which passed from hand to hand. Unfortunately for the Persians, it was Byzantium that dealt the last blow. In 6051, the empire founded almost 1000 years earlier was lost. This is where the Arabs came in. They had been stabbing the Sassanids and Parthians from the south and east before, but in 6050, after the fall of the capital, the whole of Persia came under. The Umayyad Caliphate was established with an Arabic language and its capital at Damascus. It had a good start. The Umayyads allowed Christians and Jews of their religions, tried to develop science and took people into government regardless of religion. But religious intolerance still took its toll, and the whole Middle East, along with Iran, plunged into a millennium of strife. The Abbasids, the Tahrids, the Safavids, and the Buddhists changed one another. The main point for us is that neither Christianization nor Islamization has had any particular resonance in Iran. Various rulers have tried time after time to make Persia Islamic, but time after time they have been rebuffed. The Farsi language has survived dozens of empires. Books have continued to be printed, and representatives of Zoroastrianism have survived to this day. After the Arabs came the Turkish-Mongol conquest. In 1220 in Iran, Genghis Khan came and the Mongols ruled until the 14th century. They were succeeded by Tamerlan, who subjugated Iran under the guise of protecting Muslims. Iran's relative stability and return to independence came with the Safavid state. It was formed in 1501, when the Shah Ismail subjugated the whole of the country. There was talk of renaming it Achaemenid power to link it with the past, but it didn't work out. All that was given back was the title of King of Kings and a fully independent policy for the next 2.5 centuries. The country was under constant attack from Ottomans, Uzbeks and Afghans, and in the end, because of constant wars and internecine strife, the state collapsed. It was succeeded in 1785 by the Qajar Iran, ruled by a dynasty of Iranians of Turkish origin. The Qajars are remembered for their good start, enabling them to regain control of Georgia and the Caucasus, and their bad end, when following 4 wars with Russia at once, Persia lost modern Georgia, Dagestan, Azerbaijan, Armenia and other territories. All this led to Iran coming to their First World War in a severe crisis, becoming a de facto platform for confrontation between Russia and Britain in the Great Game. These two countries occupied Iran, where battles with the Ottoman Empire were fought in World War I. Russia, as you know, pulled out of the war, and this led to the fact that Britain in 1919 tried to softly make Iran its colony. But in the end, as has always been the case in the history of Iran, the Persians did return to power. The iconic figure is Reza Shah Pahlavi, the 34th Shah of Persia, who gained power after a military coup. He took a course towards industrialization and in 1935 officially renamed the country Iran. Unfortunately, during World War II, the country again suffered British-Soviet intervention and became an object of international games. The US, Britain, and the USSR fought for control, and revolutions rumbled one after the other. The oil-rich country in the heart of Asia never ceased to be a center of geopolitical interest. In 1980, Saddam Hussein invaded Iran, and the long 8-year war ended in nothing. A bit later, there was a showdown between the USSR, Israel, the United States, and even Ethiopia. But it's already politics, and so we will not go into details. We have given you a brief history of a very unusual state that has been at the center of events since antiquity.